Despite an order from the court to preserve physical evidence, the City of Memphis and the Shelby County Criminal Court clerk had violated that order and destroyed that evidence. As inherently implausible as their explanation that they had both accidentally discarded the evidence within 5 days of one another, just before the trial was to begin, the court found that the violation of the order had been unintentional and declined to enter a default judgment. As sort of a consolation prize, the court gave me as much time as I wanted to try to put my case back together without the most critical evidence. At first, I was dumbfounded. What good would the additional time be if in the final analysis I still didn't have the evidence? Eventually, I realized that we still had the evidence, sort of at least. When I came to Memphis originally with my 3 experts to inspect the physical evidence, I also photographed it. We had cut out paper darts to mark the locations of holes in Marcus's sweater and jacket, and photographs of the panel of the wood on the motel wall still showed the holes in the panel from the pellets that had passed by Marcus rather than striking him. We still had the autopsy report and the morgue photos, so we figured that we could recreate the evidence, so to speak, from the photographs of the evidence. But I needed additional experts to properly evaluate the photographs, create a scale for them, and to demonstrably extract the evidentiary value that the photographs held. After asking the right people, I found that it could be done, but the cost of doing so were enormous. My resources to continue financing the case were not limitless, and tens of thousands of additional dollars were needed. It would also make the case considerably more complex and longer to try. In order to maximize the resources available to me and to streamline the cost, complexity, and length of the trial, I interrupted the case against the City of Memphis and elected to proceed against John Dolan alone. We were able to find a young teenage boy in Detroit who was the same size and body type as Marcus Norris. From the autopsy report and morgue photos, we could place small round band-aids on the model's body in the same locations as entry and exit wounds on Marcus's body. We found a denim jacket in the same size as Marcus's, made by the same manufacturer. We marked the jacket and a pullover sweater with yellow stickers to show the locations of holes in Marcus's clothing made by the pellets as they passed through the material. We then had the model duplicate both John Dolan and Faye Black's accounts while superimposing his image onto photographs of the motel. The results turned out better than I had dared to hope for. A shotgun ejects 9 pellets simultaneously. When the pellets leave the shotgun muzzle, they are clustered together tightly in a ball, but as they travel through space, they expand into a spray of pellets in roughly a circular pattern. Marcus was hit by 5 of the pellets above his belt line and 1 below. The remaining pellets missed him and hit the panel on the motel wall next to a Coca-Cola vending machine. Most of the pellets which hit Marcus entered the left side of his body, and all of the pellets traveled through his body from left to right. Knowing these facts from the autopsy report, we had our model duplicate the competing accounts offered by John Dolan and Faye Black. Dolan claimed that Marcus walked directly at him before stopping and pulling out the BB gun and aiming it directly at the officer. As can be seen, with this sort of frontal confrontation, the left side of Marcus's body is not exposed to allow any of the pellets to enter from that side. As we strip away the clothing, you can see that only 2 wound sites are exposed to Dolan's gun muzzle, as represented by the camera lens. Indeed, the wound to the right breast area is partially concealed by the hand holding the gun. Clearly, 3 of the wounds Marcus suffered could not have been hit by pellets given Dolan's description, and none of the pellets could have traveled left to right, as we know that they did. By contrast, Faye Black said that as Marcus came out of the breezeway, he turned right and began walking towards the motel office. He stopped when ordered by John Dolan and tossed his BB gun down to the ground and raised his hands as instructed. As we strip away the clothing, we see that from the mother's account, all entry wound sites are exposed to the gun muzzle, and all pellets striking Marcus would have to travel from left to right, just as the autopsy revealed. Particular attention must be given to the wound to the left armpit, which could only have happened if Marcus's hands were raised in the air. One of the initially perplexing issues related to the wound Marcus suffered to the right breast area. Although there was a corresponding hole in Marcus's pullover sweater, there was no hole in the right breast area of his jacket. As can be seen in Dolan's demonstration of what he claimed Marcus had done, the right breast is covered even by his jacket. Consequently, any pellet creating a wound to the right breast from a frontal confrontation would have to first pass through the jacket material itself. But with no hole in Marcus's jacket in that area, it meant that the pellet which struck Marcus in the right breast had to get inside of the jacket without going through the jacket. The only possible explanation for this occurrence was that Marcus raised his hands with his left side prominent to the gun muzzle. His jacket rode up on his torso, and the upper part of the jacket puckered out, creating an opening for the pellet to enter the jacket without passing through the jacket material at that point. The pellet, which entered Marcus in the left lower rib area, exited his back about 3 to 4 inches above the belt line, but the corresponding hole in the back of the jacket is located at about the belt line when the arms are at rest. When, however, the arms are raised, the jacket rides up on the torso, and the exit wound and the hole in the jacket are perfectly aligned. Marcus suffered a wound just to the left of his navel, about 1.5 to 2 inches above the belt line. The corresponding hole in the jacket just nicked the lower portion of the jacket, such that it was well below the belt line when the arms are lowered. When the arms are raised, however, once again you see that the jacket rides up on the torso and the hole in the wound align perfectly. The pellet which hit Marcus in the right breast created a superficial wound which hit no bone and exited out of the right armpit. When the arms are at rest, it would appear that the pellet must have traveled downward before exiting. However, like the clothing, skin moves when the body moves. Consequently, when Marcus's arms are raised, the entry wound and the exit wound align perfectly on a straight line, as the pellet had to travel through the body without being deflected by striking any bone.